Today, we discuss all things 104 in your Dynasty rookie drafts. We're going to talk strategy, tiering up, tiering down, positional pivots, as well as who we think is our pick at the 104. Stick around for all that and more. And welcome into the Dino Construction Podcast. Justin joined with David and JP here. Pretty excited to be talking rookies. As always, this is part of a bigger series we have on the podcast. We're going to do this for every pick from the 101 through the 104, 101 through 103. Of course, already out. It's linear. Spoiler, next one is the 105 after this. So we're talking all things from a Superflex Tight End Premium standpoint. If you don't play Superflex or Tight End Premium, go ahead and just remove Fernando Mendoza from consideration at the 104. He's probably a later first round prospect. Maybe you have him second with how you play single QB, etc. But just lower him on down. We're going to be talking about all this from that viewpoint, but it does not mean that these are not useful conversations for you. So stick around anyways. So starting off with the 104, just pretty curious. We've talked a bit about how this could end up being, a point where we're less comfortable with this pick because maybe a couple of our elite wide receivers don't get the landing spots we like, don't get the draft capital we like. We've talked about they wind up with the Jets, for example, right? Not great. So are we sitting on the 104 until our rookie draft, or are we actively looking to do anything to potentially get out of that situation?
Yeah, I think it depends on which direction your team is heading. But if I'm competing and I can add the 104 somewhere to upgrade, if I'm comfortable with my depth and I can tier up with a player in the 104, I love trying to do that. If I'm rebuilding and I can get a 27 first plus a late 26 first, we've kind of floated that idea on the past couple episodes, the 102, 103. I don't hate that at all. I'm definitely not doing it for a 27 first and a second, unless I feel very confident that's going to be a good 27 first, then maybe. The 104 is still a good pick, so don't feel like you have to move it. But yeah, I'm going to be active here. I'm a little nervous. If I need a quarterback, I'm a little less nervous. But I have a feeling at least one of these three receivers is going to get a landing spot that we don't love. I think that's just fair to prepare for.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a given. But if I am contending, I'm going to shop it more aggressively. But if I am rebuilding, I do think even if we get a crappy landing spot, if you do believe in the talent, I think the talent does rise up over situation frequent times. Year one, sure, the Jet situation's probably sucks, but if they get an Arch Manning or something, then at least the market for these wide receivers will probably bounce back as long as they don't flop as rookies. So I'm okay holding it as a rebuilder. But yeah, if I'm contending, I really, really want to try to see what I can do with this pick.
All right, so now we're going to talk about who we are considering at this pick. Now, when we're actually on the board in our leagues, there's a chance that Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon, our 102 or 103 that we've already selected, are on the board still, in which case they are in very serious consideration for being picked at the 104, as we think they're decent values there. But at this point, there's really only two guys that we are discussing or considering, and that is Jordan Tyson and Fernando Mendoza. David gave a very in-depth spiel on Tyson in the 102 video. Also, David gave a very convincing case for why Mendoza should honestly be considered as high as the 102 in our 103 video as well. We're going to talk a little bit more about both of them now, but not quite as in-depth. So simply put, Mendoza had 4.6 rushing fantasy points per game in college. That's after sacks are decreased, right? He is mobile enough that I think he can add maybe 3.5 points per game in the pros, right? Some scrambles here, 4 touchdowns over the course of the season. It's not enough to win weeks consistently, right? We're not talking about Jaden Daniels, right? We're not talking about Drake May type of rushing type of production that we think he can do in the pros. Enough that it helps, right? He's not a statue. He's not Jared Goff. He's not Kirk Cousins. And I do think that has a lot of value, right? That extra little bit. And that's honestly, that's why I think he does belong in this tier of players. Of course, he's going to be the 101. He's going to have Bowers, going to have Genty, has a new Super Bowl winning coach, right? So I think there is a lot of things to love here. JP, why are you leaning Tyson here?
Yeah, I've mentioned that just wide receiver, it's just the most liquid asset that you can have. And if you or the trade partner already has quarterback, they're not going to be interested in Fernando Mendoza. As much as I love Tate and Lemon, I do really like Jordan Tyson still. If you look at some of the in-depth numbers, there's a few things that really, really pop for me, and that's his breakout age is 99th percentile, college target share 97th percentile, college dominator 94th percentile. So although this year, as you can see, the 2.37 yards per route run was a little bit underwhelming for this elite type of prospect. I think it's just partially due to the offense. His quarterback got hurt. Jordan Tyson had injury concerns, which that is part of the profile, right? But I think in 2024 we saw him as a better, healthier player where he was dominating. And they were. I almost beat Texas last year, and that was with Cam Scatabo on the team as well. But I think Tyson, he still is just a fantastic prospect. I wish he was an early declare. Wish he didn't have the injury concerns. But man, he moves different, and some of his statistics, like I outlined there, are still really, really good, as well as the zone coverage ability, right in an elite range for how he can settle and win against zone.
Yeah, he is definitely a phenomenal prospect, and we will make the decision between these guys later. But before we actually make a pick here, we're going to entertain trades. So we're going to go work the phones a little bit. All these trades are either from leagues we are in, or we took them from real leagues on dynastydaddy.com. Taking the 104, the 105, and Jaden Reed for CeeDee Lamb. That is very expensive in some years, rookie picks, right? But in this year's rookie picks, is that something that is tenable for you guys?
I'd do it in best ball. I mean, you got a deep roster. You don't have to pick which ones to start. I think I could see doing that in best ball. I don't think it's a bad offer if you're sending it out for Lamb. If I'm the Lamb manager, I need someone better than Jaden Reed. I need someone I can confidently at least flex to really think about it. I don't think it's a bad offer. If the draft goes well too, if we get guys going where we want, if we avoid the Jets for a receiver and these guys get to good landing spots, and I'm really comfortable all the way to 105, I might revisit the offer at that point. But at this point, I need better than Jaden Reed to really think about it.
I think I'm on the package side. I think that even if these picks do hit incorrectly, that worst case scenario, I mean, I think these picks are worth still about 2 firsts. But if it does decrease in value, it's probably still about 1.5 firsts. But if they do remain strong, I mean, that's 4 firsts of value plus Jaden Reed. And I don't think I could pay that for CeeDee Lamb. I get that there definitely is some risk there, but it's just a little bit too rich for me. I mean, if it's 104 and we call it 107, I think at that point I would do it. But for these two picks that I still view in a tier, I think I'm going to hold the package.
Real quick, I just want to jump in and clarify something for the audience. When we say the 104 and 105 are worth 2 random firsts, we're not talking 27 specific. There's generally what we assume roughly a first in value is, because you got to be able to compare assets, and this is our currency. So when you're hearing that, don't think JP's sending 227 first for 105, because I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, JP, but that's not what you're trying to say here. And I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah, I think honestly, when I kind of think about it, I think that a random first in general is roughly worth like a late 27 first, roughly. But that's something that we probably need to break down in a different episode over the offseason, is how to really talk about value in a world where the value of next year's firsts are so hyperinflated. That being said, next pick on the board here, the 104 and the 209, or the 105 and the 202. So it's a pretty steep haul, moving up 7 picks in the second round to what could potentially be a meaningful player still, right? Somebody we're very interested in, to stay within a tier. But we run into the issue we've talked about of, at this point, potentially missing quarterback, or potentially getting stuck with a quarterback, or potentially getting stuck with a wide receiver with a worse landing spot. So actually dropping out of the tier in the end. Is this enough to take that risk today, JP?
Man, is that tough. If I need quarterback, yeah, I mean, I think I probably do it. Like pre-draft, I want to hold the 104. Like if I'm saying, if I had to make the decision right now, if I need quarterback, I think the value is enough for me, just based on, I think these guys have a requisite level of talent where they could be really, really good. Because I do think sometimes we can't overrate situation. Year one, I think it matters a lot, but I think long term a little bit less. But it's tough. If I don't need quarterback, I think I'm gonna stick with the 104 side though.
Yeah, for me, this is kind of like, I forget the exact trade, but we talked about in our last video, the 103, I believe it was a similar move where you're upgrading a later pick to move down 1 spot. I'm not doing this before I'm on the clock. If I'm on the clock and I don't care between the 104 and the 105 that badly, I'm happy to move down. Because of the 202, you're going to have a better selection of the 209. That being said, in this class where we don't love the second already, I feel like it's also pretty flat. Your late seconds are going to be ended up looking like they're pretty solid picks, because I think some people you might have it like 202, 203 fall to the 207, 208. Not going to be everyone, but I think everyone's second round is going to look very different. I just don't see that as enough to do it right now, because I don't really hate the 209 compared to the 202. I don't see that as much of a jump as I would in other years.
Yeah, there's just a world where that 202 ends up being in the same tier as the 111, right? And I think it's worth kind of doing, because if the draft hits in a way where a couple players separate out of that tier, you're not touching this probably post the NFL draft, right? So it's risky, but I think that's exactly the type of risk I want to take. Next, we have the 104 or Breece Hall, still a Jet. David, which way you going here? And why didn't he go to the Chiefs?
Because Kenneth Walker had to. I'm taking the pick here. It's a little rich for me for Breece Hall. It's a weak running back class, though. So, like, I have a team where I'm desperate enough that if I had the 104, I would think very hard about sending this, because I have everything but a second running back. I've been trying to get one. I haven't been successful. But that's the only situation where I could see myself thinking about sending 104 for Breece. I like him as a player. He's getting older, though, and he's still on a really bad offense. I think he's going to be frustrating again, but I think you'd be happy with him at your RB2. So if you're desperate for running back, I guess. But that's the only way I'm considering Breece.
You said it, Justin. He's still a Jet. That really hurts the value for me. So, I mean, even if I need running back, I'm still taking 104. I'd rather plug in like a Jalen Warren or Derrick Henry type later if I really need to address running back.
All right, and last trade we have here, I'm going to take the 104 in that one as well. Last trade we have here, 104 and Fannin, or 109 and Tetero McMillan. That is, it's a pretty easy one for me. I'm curious if you guys have the same opinion that I do here.
I don't know that it's easy, personally, and we are talking 175 Tight End Premium, just a reminder. I still like TEP more than Fannin enough that I'm going to take the TET side. Now, post-draft, I might reconsider, because that 109 is at the end of a tier for me. So if that tier breaks and it ends up being 108 at the end of that tier, I'm a little more interested, but I still think the difference between Tet and Fannin is more than 5 picks in this draft, in this first round.
Yeah, give me the Tet side, but I don't think it's a home run like you do, Justin. Do you agree with this?
I mean, I don't know that I think it's a home run. I just think that I probably need at least like a second or something on the Fannin side for it to even out. So it's not like you're winning by a mile. I'm just winning by enough. I'm not considering the other side without a little bit more on it. I think we've talked quite a bit about where we kind of value this 104, how we can do something with this. The reason we don't really have quarterback on this part right here is because unless we're talking about adding something to the 104 or taking Mendoza here, we're kind of in a weird sort of a dead zone at quarterback at the 103, 104. There are some players we could value. We just did not see a lot of real trades in real leagues. Just am curious if we are going with a quarterback trade target here. What are some names? Are we looking at Stroud? Are we looking at Ward? What other names in this range are we not like overpaying for at this point?
It's a tough range. I think you kind of nailed it. I'd be looking at Cam Ward, because I mean, I think Cam Ward and Mendoza are kind of the same tier. But if you go up, then you're looking at Jordan Love and Brock Purdy, who I don't think you can quite access, but you'd probably have to add a little bit. And I think that's something you probably should be doing if you need quarterback.
Because yeah, I do think Ward, Stroud, and Mendoza are not names I'm inspired by if I'm looking for confidence in starting this guy and them producing from a fantasy standpoint. So I think JP's stance of if I am contending and I need quarterback, that I probably am looking to push up. Just want to make sure we touch on that aspect. Anything to add there, David, before we move on to actually making a pick?
I think if you're trying to get points at quarterback specifically, the names we threw out there aren't that exciting. So you could go the other direction. You could try to pick up a Baker or Goff or someone and add some picks. I think that's a great way to go. Can I get a 27 seconds for, I don't know, probably Baker, maybe Goff, I don't know. 27 seconds are pretty solid. So can I get a little extra flexibility though, and I can still get the points in my lineup that way, but still have something else just in case.
All right, and if we've talked through all of our trade opportunities, we might end up making some picks here with the 104. And as of today, the direction that we are going, because JP and I are again just saying, David, we don't respect you. We don't care what you want or what you think is right. We're going to go with Jordan Tyson, your 102. No, we do respect you.
I was going to say, he's my 102 to be fair.
I was going to put his Mendoza. Yeah, so David, Your 102 finally getting picked here. And really, my conviction level that Tate is greater than Lemon is greater than Tyson is 5%. You know, like personally, I don't have a strong one. I do think I have Tate there. But JP, do you kind of agree that you could still see this flip flopping anyway as far as these three players and how to order them?
Oh yeah, shuffle them anyway based on draft capital landing spot. I could still get there with Jordan Tyson at 102. Maybe even Mendoza if I'm quarterback needy, but probably not. Probably not going to get quite there.
Alrighty, so let us know who your 102, 103, and 104 are in the comments below. Let us know any trade questions you have with the 104, and make sure to hit that like and that subscribe so you don't miss any of the rest of them. Check out the 101 through the 103 if you have not already seen those. And thank you for joining us for another episode of the Dino Construction Podcast. We hope you found this as helpful for you as it was for us. Please remember to like and subscribe wherever you listen or view. And from all of us here at the Dino Construction Podcast, until next time.